Recording in progress. turns 14
chairman
tomorrow, Saturday.
Hmm?
She'll turn 14 Saturday.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Okay, we have our,
Yeah, she'll be at Milton next year, she told me.
What? Yeah, I'll start it. All
we can go
right.
ahead and get the meeting started. Our chairperson is running just a minute late here, but we can let our vice chair kind of kick off the meeting. And before you start, can we get 9B moved up to the top?
Yes. We are going to officially call the meeting to order and have roll call. Allison Catula.
Present.
Do we have the list? I think Allison has it. Jason Alberici.
Present.
Morgan Van Gelder.
Here.
Scott Minot.
Here.
Scott Stahowski, not here.
He's walking in.
Oh, there he is. Ralph Troop.
Here.
And I am here, Stephanie Butler. Okay, we got through roll call and call to order.
Perfect. Go ahead, keep going.
If we could all stand and pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't want to keep going.
Going?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're doing great.
All right. We are going to, before we approve the meeting agenda, we're going to move item 9A
Maybe after a public comment, maybe?
to after public comment. Is that what you want? Can I get a motion to make that change and approve the meeting agenda?
I make a motion to move item 9A.
Oh, 9B, sorry.
Yep,
Oh,
9B.
9B,
I
sorry.
make a motion to move 9B to before public comment.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And next item is the approval of the past meeting minutes. I was not here for the October meeting, so I'll recuse myself. Can I get a motion to approve the past meeting minutes from October?
I'll make a motion to approve October's meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any public comment, Tom?
I have not received any public comment cards.
Okay. Next on the agenda is item 9B. Discussion of the Deerfield implementation plan update from Mr. Buscemi.
Yes. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everybody. It's
Merry
hard to
Christmas.
believe we're at 2025. It's a little scary. Time goes by really fast and almost too fast. Okay. All right. So just a quick update. I wanted to make sure that we keep the board updated on this Deerfield implementation plan. So what happened was we started receiving a lot of applications for development within the Deerfield area. There's about 6 or 8 areas that potentially can develop. A lot of the office complexes there are vacant. There's just nobody in them. They look nice when you drive by. Most people don't drive through certain parts of Deerfield very often, but and then we had the whole Highway 9 development occurring, which is really the spine of the Deerfield area. And so the council turned around and said, geez, we really would like to see the development in its holistic form so that when we review these applications, we're not just looking at one application without the understanding of all the other applications that potentially could impact the area. So that, like, hey, are we going to have retail on one side or office on one side? What's that density load? What's the potential density even look like? I mean, what can people really come in and say, hey, you know, we have legally this potential to build out this area, and, you know, how's that going to impact? And then the city went out and bought the park land, and so that's another application that's going in there, and which, you know, this plan is not getting involved with the design of that park. So I just want you to know we know it's there, and when Tom works on that design and the board and whenever you go through that process, we'll integrate whatever you all decide into our plan. But I think it'd be nice just to kind of get an idea of what's going on there. So when you're looking and you're starting to look at the park, right, you kind of get an idea of what has transpired to date as part of this plan. So we went ahead and got some project objectives set up, and the plan really covers the form-based code area within the Deerfield and Bethany Bend character areas, because that's what that form-based code is. Now, that area, we actually had council approve what we call the urban growth boundary around that area. And the theory behind the urban growth boundary was that we don't want commercial development and this high density impacts to go beyond this area. So that, you know, we don't want people, especially if we have like Fry's, which is vacant, needs redevelopment, right? And somebody says, well, you know what, I'm not going to buy the Fry's property. I want to buy something outside of this area, and I'll ask for a rezoning. And then, you know, we keep sprawling. We keep getting bigger. And of course, you know, Milton's very concerned about sprawl and growth and expanding where it shouldn't, because this is the area we really identified growth to occur, right? So this is our economic engine. This is where we believe that we can have higher density. It does have sewer in that area, right? And the other areas outside of this don't have sewer. So, you know, it's another way of not expanding sewer. It's not expanding density. So that's the urban growth boundary. It's been approved. And I just want you to know that that's in this area as well. And we highlighted in gray on this map the potential lots that have expressed interest for redevelopment. That all these landowners have reached out to us and said, look, you know, we're on this area and we really would like to redevelop it. And as you can see, there's quite a bit along the Highway 9 corridor, a lot of frontage there. And Highway 9, like I said, is getting redeveloped through, I'm sorry. Apologize for that. So we are working with GDOT on Miltonizing the corridor, because if you go through Alpharetta right now and you go through Forsyth County, I just don't really believe, and I don't think the council believes, that the aesthetic of what's the end result of what that's going to look like is something that would be satisfactory to the city of Milton. So the city of Milton is really working very hard to incorporate ideas and concepts that will make it look more Milton and function better for the citizens of Milton. And that's got to do with limiting speeds, limiting how things are going to look as far as the integration between the road and the potential developments that can occur along that road, because GDOT just cares, you know, really, which is what they should, right? Just along their main roadway, getting cars back and forth. It's a state route. And that's their concern. They're not really concerned about how do we integrate that road into our developments to really make it look nice. So anyway, that's getting done, and we're making good progress there, and we're really forging ahead. And then you have that southern area of the Deerfield area here, which has all these empty corporate complexes. We have the Verizon site. We have the Twin Tower, I call Twin Tower sites, the two office buildings that are like 5 stories high. It's like 25 acres. We have the H building site, which is 500,000 square feet of vacant office space right now. And then we have that other lot that Northside Hospital bought and purchased along 400, which they purchased a lot of land back and forth of 400 And they're, reserving all of that for expansion of medical services. So when we look at these, we sat down and said, okay, how could these potentially look and get developed? So then the council really said, Bob, before we start implementing all of these items and even showing them to us, we'd like you to bring it to the community and say, what is the community's objectives? What would the community like? Let's ask the community. Let this be a community-driven sort of development proposal. And I said, that'd be great. So we came up with some objectives, right? We said shaping a unique identity for the area. I think everybody understands that Deerfield has to be identified as Deerfield. And this is really important from a branding perspective. I think when you're in Crabapple, you're in Crabapple. But a lot of people live in Deerfield and they don't even know they live in Milton. It's kind of one of those spaces where you drive through it and you don't feel that Milton character and that Milton identity over there. You can drive through it and some people look at me and go, geez, I thought we were moving into Alpharetta because the zip codes are the zip codes. And so it's even harder to identify Milton as Milton. So we want to identify it as unique. We want to create a livable community, and we want to prepare the district for a sustainable economic future, right? What do we need to do to really make this an economic engine and to activate the area? Okay, so we went to the community and we said, what are the 3 new things you'd love to see and do in Deerfield? And we have kind of expected this. It's infrastructure and transportation. Everybody really wants to be able to get around without vehicles. They really want the pedestrian experience, to be able to walk and transverse this whole district from the northernmost end, where Crooked Creek is, all the way to the southern end, which is where Fry's is, and all the way into where the park is, and then beyond into Verizon, that whole district. How do we get people around? And believe it or not, there is a big push even from Crooked Creek residents, and there's quite a number of them up there, and most of the developments, residential developments that are along Highway 9, that are saying, we really want to be able to walk out our door and get on a bicycle or walk, scooter, or something, golf cart, and be able to go to these economic centers. Maybe there's retail, like the Target Shopping Center, which is planned to be redone. The whole thing is planning to be reconstructed. So it's like, well, I'd like to be able to get there without having to get in my car. So that's really a strong request, because right now it's really difficult to do that. And now that we're redesigning Highway 9, I think gives the city the opportunity to make that instead of 2 lanes, it's 4 lanes. How do we make that look pedestrian friendly and get people to do crosswalks and feel like they can transverse through there? And so we're really putting a lot of emphasis on that. And I think when we finally get to those end results, I'll present them to you. I think you'll like what we're coming up with. Then they said land use and redevelopment. Transportation was 44, land use redevelopment is 30, and green spaces and parks is 25. And there was a lot of conversation about green spaces and parks. And that's really what I'm going to emphasize today. I'm really getting into green space and parks, right? Because I want to make sure you understand what we're doing and how it might affect the parks in the area. Okay, so we showed people pictures of parks and said, what is your envisionment of a park? Now, we're not talking about the active park. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's clear that we're not getting involved with the active park. I understand the active park is the active park. It's going to have fields. The council wants a certain number of fields, and that's different. Okay, so I promise Tom, I tell you that we're not getting involved with that at all. You're just one element that's in the plan that's going to be there, and hopefully we can transverse through the park somehow, maybe a trail path, right? But other than that, we're really not getting involved with that. But we are looking at these private developments and saying we can have linear parks along Highway 9 so that when you're driving down Highway 9, you see these linear parks along the roadway, which soften it up. We can have other developments like the Verizon site. We could say, look, we want these big, green spaces. We require in the code that you have a certain amount of open space. So we said, we just don't want people to give us blank open space. We really want to define what that looks like. How does it look? So when I designed and did the master plan here in Crabapple, I said, look, I'm going to put our civic use, the city hall on this site, which used to be a big detention pond, believe it or not. It was like 40 feet deep. And we filled it all in and we buried all the water. So when you park your car, you're actually parking your car and there's big tanks of water underneath it. It's really kind of a cool concept. We buried it all. On the other side, I made the lake. That's the Mayfield Park Lake that is now a city lake that you guys manage. But then we wanted a park that was like a mirror to City Hall. The developer initially said, look, it's all let out and ready to go. It was all the infrastructure was in to build buildings. They were going to put townhouses in that whole area. And I said, no, I don't want that. I want a park. And they looked at me like, you got to be kidding me. It's millions of dollars worth of land and millions of dollars to take out everything we just put in. And I said, yeah, and then I would like to see it really developed and all. And Orkin came back and said, look, I'm in total agreement. And I'll tell you, one great developer, he came in, he put in the amphitheater, he put in the artwork. And so that's kind of a good, usable, visual park or open space. And that's what we were asking the public for. So the favorability here in these pictures was 89% on the one on the left, and then 82, which is high two, and then 61, which is like a kind of a plaza with some green space in between the buildings. And so I think this gave us a good illustration of when we require open space, that we just don't put it in the back somewhere and bury it, or just tell somebody to give us a green lawn somewhere that nobody's going to use. They really want it to be integrated. Okay, then plazas. So I'm going to treat open space as plazas. We'll start giving people credit. So it's not just an empty field. If you design a really nice plaza that people can really interact with, we felt, and the community felt, that that's a legitimate usage of what we would define as open space, because they really like to interact within these open spaces. So when you're looking at open spaces, even in your own park, right, that you're designing, I think the community there expressed such a strong desire to say, can we have areas, I understand you having fields and all, but can we have areas that the community can gather and utilize as open space? So think about not just the fields, but the voided areas between the fields, right? And what you can do with that, because I think it's got a strong potential here. You could see it's really kind of these are nice spaces to be in. I think everybody would like to go out to dinner and walk around one of these spaces and really enjoy that experience. And then we said some areas, like maybe the Verizon side or, the Fry side, should have like Orkin space on Target. They really should be called bigger ones. We should call them hubs. So we have much more concentration of open space. We don't break it up. So it's a nicer, bigger open space area that's grander. So if you have like 5 acres, you're not going to have a hub on it, right? Your open space is going to be kind of small. But if you have 40 acres, 60 acres, maybe that open space really needs to be more of a hub with retail flanking it. People can experience it. It's not just sitting there. We really can start to interact with it. And that's kind of the feedback we were getting from the community. Okay, so if you look at what is existing without private development, we do have the big Alpharetta Park up there along Cogburn. We bought a little bit of open space on Webb, which is not really open or active right now. We have Freedom Park. And then we have the new park that we're buying for the ball fields. So because of the land values here in Deerfield, there's really not a lot of green space, open space, because it's a commercial district. It's expensive, land values are high. The city did decide to put the park there, which I thought was an appropriate usage. And I'm glad they did, because even though it's an active park, regional park, for the city, it's still considered to me open space. I mean, you're going to see it as open space versus buildings. So we started to look at it again. We identified the large development areas. And so each one of those, I'm going to try to incorporate this open space concept, just to let you know. Okay. So the other thing the community really gave us feedback on was this whole transportation element of getting around, right? I said they want us to get around from a pedestrian experience. Now, so of course, people were kind of starting to look at mimicking something like the trail in Alpharetta, right? The trails that are in Atlanta, the different types of, like the Alpha Loop and so the community kept pushing, we'd like to see some identity of trails that are in Milton and specifically in Deerfield. So we went back and looked at the trail plan that was approved. And the trail plan had a lot of segments already identified and actually built. And we said, geez, why reinvent the wheel? Let's build on the existing trail plan, see if we can just connect loops, better identify where these trails are, and have different functionality to them, right? Because you could be on a trail segment in Deerfield and not even know you're on the trail segment. And that's the difference, right? When you're on the Alpha Loop, you know that you're on, it's identified. People know that it's a pathway that you specifically, walk or run or utilize, like that you're on the Beltline, that kind of thing, right? You actually drive down it again on the Beltline. You know that you're going for the Beltline. So identifying these trails, I think, is really important. So we said, let's look at these. So when you're looking at this map, do you have the handout? You have the copy. I try to give you a handout on this one. The left side, where Cogburn is, the Highway 9, we thought was a more passive kind of experience when you're on that trail. And then the one to the right of Highway 9 is more of the active portion because we're going to have much more commercial activity occurring there. So then we could link it all together from the city's design. But then as these private developments occur, we could start taking segments of the trail and looping them inside the development. So then you could either say, okay, I'll just stay along Highway 9, or I can kind of dart off into a development and utilize the experience on that. Maybe I want to take my golf cart and I want to be able to go into that development, actually shop, and then turn around and go home. So that's kind of it's really nice when you're going on a trail to have a destination and a reason to do it. Because if it's just sitting out there like a sidewalk, nobody's really going to do it. So we looked at this and said, what can the city do? And then what can the private developments do? And if we tell the private developers, which we've been doing, that we're setting this up, they have to integrate their segments into each one of their plans. So that's what you're seeing here. And I will say that the plan would like to see some trail go through the park that you're all looking at. And that's not like cutting right through the park and destroying a field. There's one area off to the side, which is a big creek in going through there. It's a natural area. You can't build in there anyway. It's against code to build in there, but it does allow a trail. So maybe that's an appropriate way to not take away any of your programming of that park, but to kind of get this trail loop through it so it then connects Webb Road to Deerfield. And it would just be part of this trail plan. And again, it's a segment, so if it doesn't get built right away, we could still transverse through the loop, but you won't be able to kind of take that segment until it gets built. So we're kind of hoping that segment occurs. And the only other thing was, I think from a transportation perspective, everybody's really trying to push to have a vehicular connection between Deerfield and Highway 9 through that site. So just kind of keep that in mind. I don't know if that's going to be doable or not. Maybe come back and say, Bob, it just doesn't work. So it doesn't work. But if it does, if we can get it to work, this plan is identifying that as would be a really important aspect. So you can keep that in mind too. And then, of course, there's a way to get to the Greenway. And so we're going to have all this and we'll brand it. We're going to have signage. So I'll just show you some. So this is a trail network, an urbanized trail network that would go through, say, the Target Shopping Center. It's, with the retail experience. And you'll see the pedestrian is on the left. The golf carts are on the right and bicycles. And that would be a part of the trail network that would bring you into the actual shopping experience of these developments. Then again, I was telling you that we're going to do along the perimeter a linear trail. So that'll be more of a sort of a passive. So this would be more of an active. The other one would be more passive, looking something like this picture here. And maybe it going through through some of the green spaces that we have, but it would be internal to developments. So this could be somewhat along Highway 9, where you're kind of going through. It could be in the back part of the development. Just some sort of nice experience where you can kind of utilize this trail and kind of feel like, you're in nature rather than in the urban. So we're giving both options, and we're hoping that both of these get developed. So if you could pick and choose, right, which one you want to use when you're doing it. Different experiences. This one here is sort of what a boardwalk portion would look like, because some of this may require it to be, elevated and go through it. But you could see that we have branding, lighting, fencing, all in conformance with the Deerfield Association standards. So the Deerfield Association has some standards there as far as perimeter fencing. If you go to the park that we have now, Tom very appropriately put the correct columns and the correct fencing. So the perimeter of that does conform to the Deerfield Association requirements. Okay, so just any questions or feedback. We don't really need, there's nothing, to make a decision on today. It was more informative. But if you have questions or feedback, I'd love to hear it. And then as we keep progressing through this the next couple of months, schedule-wise, we're going to be done with some of the manuals by the end of this year. And then in January, we're going to start showing the public what it looks like with all the developments integrated into it, so people get a better idea of that. And we're hoping by May, and we are on target, by May we should be done with this program. So I'm opening the floor. Anything?
So there's currently moratoriums for zoning right now that have, I think, just recently been extended again.
Yeah, I extended.
So will
2 months.
those run through after May when you
Well, right
propose?
now, I've extended it from December 2nd, I think, to February 3rd. I put 2 months on there just to make sure that we could show the council everything. Now, on February 3rd, the council might decide, Bob, we need to extend that a little bit further to do further research. It's up to council. But, we're trying not to just, pick long dates, and we're trying to do it incrementally to make sure that we're hitting the dates we need to hit, and to have the council decide at what point they feel that we're far enough along that they're comfortable with opening that up to the public and getting the developments.
Are there any projects kind of in line that are waiting for y'all to get past this point? And
Yes,
then
there are.
how receptive have they been to these plans? Have they been really receptive, or y'all been able to?
No.
Discuss.
Good question. Thanks. We're in communication with them all. They're all very happy that we're doing this study. It's an in-depth study. They benefit from it in the long run because they go, Bob, first the council, if you can show everybody in the community what this is going to look like ahead of time, and it's a holistic form of all of these coming together potentially, then I think it's better for us rather than going in and having people get, alarmed and having the council looking at it saying, well, we're just not sure what is Fry's going to look like, and geez, now, and then all of a sudden Orkin's deciding to do his target, and what is that going to look like? We want to make sure that the Fry's sort of, blends in with the target, and we're not competing, and, how does that density look? How do those street walls going to look from Highway 9? What is those building heights? Because, in those areas, you have building height that, in parts of Deerfield can go up to 12 stories. I don't think anybody is going to do 12 stories, but currently in the code, it is that. So what do those densities look like graphically? What do those things look like? So I think it's that, but people are in line to do this.
Okay. No, I love it. I love how deliberate the city's being about it. So.
Yeah, I think the city's being rightfully cautious about what it is, and the developers are really happy because then when we came back and said the community really wants like this developed open space and parks and linear parks and pocket parks within your development, they're like, okay, this is really great to know, because in the end, it's those community members that are going to want to shop there and use it. And it's those business owners that are living here using it. So it really just benefits everybody. And I think at the end, everybody's been taking it as they should, very appropriately as a good thing. And I think the community's been good. I know your chair, Scott, has been at all our open meetings, and thank you, Scott, for that. He's been a real trooper, and he's been to every single one of our open houses. And as we have them, I invite everybody to come to them. They're really good. I know Scott's been there, so he's been following this thing to the nines, and we appreciate his input and presence there. So thanks, Scott.
Bob, I have two questions.
Sure.
One on the open space diagram, you've outlined sort of North Park. Does that include the Kegel property at all?
No.
Because part of the open space we've got, right, would be to think about, as we're connecting to Kegel somehow, to kind of reflect that in your trail maps.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should look at that. One of the comments we had at the last open house was, even we're just looking at the Deerfield area, right?
Right.
And somebody came out and said, well, geez, is there a way to even get the people that live in Deerfield to, say, Providence Park? And, I thought that was a good comment, because we're not really looking outside of this district area. We're just kind of concentrating within it. But I thought it was a valid comment to say, hey, that we should really look. So that's something we're just starting to look at. So all of these little things, I like to work with you, Scott, to make sure that all the peripheral items, you feel that we have access to get to them.
Yeah.
Because
My
it's
other question
ridiculous
is,
not to.
I know it's come up numerous times. I've been asked about it a couple of times. Is
Okay.
Stone Creek. So how is Stone Creek zoned today, and how do we consider it redevelopment when it's so far north of Deerfield?
Okay, so Stone Creek is actually a T2 zone today. When we did the form-based code, I was here for that, we said it was a church, and we just said, let's just leave it as a T2. We never envisioned it really initially. Staff never thought it would be a commercial operation or some sort of, high-density kind of area. But Stone Creek has everything north and south of Stone Creek is in the part that abuts Highway 9 are T5 zones, which got a lot of density and potential for development. And Stone Creek has subsequently, expressed interest in coming in, saying we would like to rezone the front portion of that, not the back, which is, still T2. It's along Cogburn. We'd leave that as open space and all. But we'd like to redesign and look at the front, so that they are going to be coming in for a rezoning. And chances are, at the Planning Commission tonight, I'm going to show some diagrams of how that potential build-out could occur. And chances are they'll have linear, because it's so far north, they'll just have linear retail along Highway 9, and then potentially residential in the back. And their attitude was, look, let's see if we can keep it to like a townhouse, single-family detached kind of product versus anything that would be a multifamily type product, which would be apartments or anything like that. So even though T5 allows that, they're saying, well, we don't think it's appropriate here. It also has a 2-story limit in the zoning, so you couldn't go any higher than 2 stories in that area, no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So there are limitations to it.
Gotcha.
But that would be probably, from that point, then the study area kind of jumps up to the public shopping center up on the north, because there's a lot of retail in there. So then we treated that as a different kind of character area. And then from there, we went even north more, because there is some scattered potential. There's some existing retail and some scattered retail that's even north up to the county line.
Yep, thanks.
That's up in there. We have that 5-acre lot that's there that's got barbed wire all around it. The city really worked with them to clean it all up. We did. We got it looking visually nice, but we're kind of hoping we can get something in there that would really make it much more attractive along the corridor.
Thanks.
Yeah, so they are stuck with the moratorium because it's a rezoning, and they'd have to come in and go through that whole rezoning process to see what it is that what it ultimately will end up being approved.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Oh, that was good. Okay. Okay. If you do, think of any questions, you can either email me or Tom, and we'll get back to folks. And if you need anything, you can look at everything's on video. We have our own dedicated webpage for this project, so you can go online. You can look at everything we do. This afternoon, we're working on a podcast, so we're going to start doing podcasts. The communication effort is just immense. We're doing, mail outs, we're doing articles, we're doing podcasts, we're doing websites. So we're really trying to reach the public. So there's lots there. Okay, that was just my thing. I don't need that. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, Bob.
Great.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks,
Did
Bob.
Parks and Rec did our podcast yesterday. It's fun.
Yeah, oh, you did it yesterday? Yeah, it's kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
Supposedly. I'll let you know at the end of the day if it was fun.
All right.
Thank you.
Move into committee reports. Hopewell Baseball.
I know they've already talking to you, Thomas. so-
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about Hopewell. I actually met with a few members of the board yesterday. We visited Legacy Park and Birmingham United Methodist Church just to kind of get geared up and prepared for those fields for the baseball season. I know their registration, quote unquote, closes here in the beginning of January. I think January 7th is their cutoff date, but they're not going to anybody after that and before evaluations they'll still take. They're planning on doing evaluations that last Saturday in January. So come that time, after evaluations, they'll do the drafts and we'll move right on to the spring season. So it's coming very quickly. A couple updates as far as Bell Memorial Park. We have replaced the batting cages, a long time coming since the park was built. So we have brand new netting on all 10 cages at Bell Memorial Park. And we're also replacing the backstop padding on Field 4 and Field 5 with custom fit padding. So it'll look really great and just be something great for the program over there.
Awesome. Eagle Sticks.
Not a ton to report. Fall season, I think, was a success, and I think spring registration should be opening up soon-ish. I don't think it's open yet, though.
I
should know that.
believe spring registration is closed. I know Eagle Sticks plans on closing later in January, I think around the 20th.
Okay.
But I've been in touch with Tim, and we've allocated field space, and things are looking positive for the spring season.
Great.
North Georgia Recreation Boys Lacrosse.
Similar there, just taking in registrations now. Everything seems to be moving forward.
Correct.
Awesome.
I believe they're planning on closing registration towards the middle of the month, around the 15th, for both of the boys programs. Been in touch with Brandon, our provider, as well. So both lacrosse programs are prepared for the spring season.
Awesome. And football had 3 championship teams: tackle football, 2nd grade Milton Eagles, 4th grade Milton Eagles, and 5th grade Cambridge Bears. I was here Monday for the city council meeting. It was very lively with all of those teams here. A gentleman stopped me and said, "Are all the city council meetings this way?" No. And I spoke to David Kramer. It sounds like he's going to be around maybe for a couple more years as commissioner, as they vote for the new board. So that's good.
Looking forward to that. David's been great.
Yeah, he's
we've had some
awesome.
great communication. I actually recently ordered plaques for all of our championship teams to go on the wall of champions over at Bell Memorial. I know they're excited to
Awesome.
see those.
Nice.
So
Very good. Halftime sports basketball.
The season has been underway. It's fairly quiet so far. They're about to go on break for 2 weeks, and then they'll be back in January. This is the first full season to where they're playing games Friday through Sunday. So the season will be wrapping up a little bit early in February. But other than that, it's been fairly quiet.
Okay. Swim team.
Yeah, pretty quiet for the swim team. I think it's February and in March or the registration. We try to give our returning families an opportunity to register, and then we'll open it up for any capacity, which we very rarely have any capacity anymore. We've been running big teams. So I'm excited because Cambridge High School swimming is going to be a bigger presence on it next year too. So
Good.
but it's going to be fun. So we'll press the limits of capacity at the pool in the parking lot, Tom.
Tennis.
I have nothing to give you on tennis.
I don't have much to report on tennis. I know they're in their winter season. Terry continues to max out his space with his leagues. We are doing some helpful things around the tennis courts for the program. We're actually having them pressure wash the tennis courts this weekend. So they'll be out, our pressure washer will be out there Sunday and probably overflow onto Monday. We're also doing some cleanup around the shed to kind of beautify our tennis courts over there.
Very good. Youth arts programming.
Yes, we are halfway through the winter session for programs. We're also getting in the holidays, so as a Kid Create and also the Playwell Technologies of the Lego classes are having upcoming mini camps. And then also as well too is registration for the spring programming is officially open now as well too.
Good. Adult programming.
Yes, adult programming. Happy to touch on that. We've got our Rush Union adult soccer program on a bit of a hiatus right now between seasons, but they will start their winter season beginning January 6th over at Legacy Park. We'll continue to program over at Bell Memorial Park for our adult petanque league. They will have a spring season in the upcoming months, so we'll begin to push out promotion for them as well.
Awesome. Camp Joyful Souls.
Quickly coming upon us, even though it's still December here. We're actually looking to bring on our manager at the beginning of the new year. So hopefully sometime in January, later January, she'll come on board, begin the planning process for that. And we open up registration for our families, the application process in February.
Very good. Summer day camp.
Yes, just going off of Thomas, it is coming up very quickly on us. Just starting in January is when we're going to start recruiting for camp staff.
All right. Outdoor recreation programming.
All right, so last time I talked to you, we were launching our first night hike, and whoo, what we learned. Our team can pull off some cool things. The community loved it. I sent out a survey. The feedback was this: we love it so much, we need you to do it more. It was action-packed, to say the least. Our hikes had 60 plus people on each one of them that were led by me. The team ran the parking lot. Thomas ran s'mores and the campfire, and they loved it. They want more, but our capacity is limited by us. So I think we'll offer it again next fall. We'll do a spring hike, which is our trail mix, and we'll do another fall night hike. What I learned, I can limit the number of people that are on the trail at a time so that they can have a better experience. We could offer smaller capacity night hikes where they're specialized. They could be aged, so we could have a senior hike, we could have a toddler hike, we could do all age hike so you know what to expect, but it was a smash. So we'll see more of that.
What was the age groups that majority of that showed of the 60?
It was everybody. I mean, honestly, it was families. It was people expecting like they were going backpacking. I think the expectations were all over the place, which is great because it gave us something to start with, right? So now I know based on the survey, some people were like, we loved it. Our toddlers were having the time of their life running around in a field. Some people were like, I wanted to hear more about wildlife from you, but
toddlers were living their best life. So, yeah, we can do like an adult only, 18 plus, or this one's going to be about owls and we want, we need a quiet hike. So, yeah, that's a challenge that Tom and I are going to work through is how do we replicate Ranger Gen so that we can do more of this? And so that's kind of one of our 2025 goals is how do we duplicate Gen with, volunteers and things of that nature. Another thing that we launched in between the time that I saw you last was our Wildlife 101. That was also a smash. It packed out Community Place next door. I brought in a wildlife specialist who talked about coyotes. And that really came about because I seem to be the catch-all for questions about wildlife in the community. And so when people call and they're like, this weird thing happened in my yard and I don't know what to do with that. Who do I call? How do I get help? Is this even a problem? We're going to start doing educational talks and bring in specialized people. So we've already got the next 6 months planned out. I get a lot of calls about snakes. Is this snake dangerous? Somebody said at lunch today, the nope rope, do I exit that snake from my yard? Is it safe to be there? Fawn season comes up. Is this fawn okay? Do I need to call a rehab specialist? Yeah, all kinds of stuff. So if you guys have ideas or you hear things in the community, I'm happy to get somebody in. We're going to turn it to a webinar platform and work with the communications department so anybody can join. You don't have to be in person. You can cook dinner and learn all about whatever our topic is. And then we're going to launch the Outdoor Academy, and these will be classes taught by me or hopefully these extensions of me that we train. One's going to be a backpacking 101, so you'll learn if you're interested in learning on how to go out on the trail and sleep on the ground. I'm going to teach you how to do that. Continue our fishing classes, which I know your family will join. Our Learn to Bike program, and then also continue our Junior Ranger classes. So we got a lot going on this spring.
So the replicating Gen positions, are those all volunteer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I found over Thanksgiving like 3 or 4 models that I think if we merge and pick and pull pieces from it, would be a really good volunteer program. So I would run them through background checks, train them, just like we would our athletics programs, and they would just be extensions of me. They would lead hikes. Maybe they have special interests that they would want to teach people. Maybe they want to teach backpacking. Maybe they want to teach fishing. And based on their special interests, I would deploy them to teach those classes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Could the scouts, accomplish any of their goals by doing something like that in a particular area?
Yeah.
I don't know from a badge perspective, or that's probably not a project.
Right.
Probably wouldn't qualify as a project perspective, but.
So what I've learned from the scouts, they're super limited in what they're capable of doing outside of scouts. So they really put that training internally to the younger scouts, which I would never want to pull them from what they're doing. And they give me the most that they can. So to ask them to come out and replicate these programs,
I was saying
it's an overhaul.
If there was a scout, there was a senior, I don't know if there's any other kind of, not accreditations, but any other kind of awards or anything that they could work toward that something like that would satisfy.
Yeah, potentially. If they're listening to this,
I'm thinking
call Jen Young.
retirees too.
I feel like there would be a potential for some sort of maybe even an Eagle project that's more community based in that way,
Or
like an
some sort of
event-
leadership.
an event versus
Yeah.
a building a bench, for instance, right? Where
Yeah.
you put all the effort into planning and putting the curriculum together, and that's what your time is spent on. And then maybe, some sort of dedication to the park that will help support whatever you did. I don't know, because we've had scouts come in and they wanted to do like a special event was what they wanted to do for their Eagle project.
I love a special event. I'm looking for longevity,
Yep, I know.
in a program where if you come in and volunteer, even if you volunteer for a one-time event, I mean, there's a lot of training that goes into that, a lot of overhauls. So I'm looking for your retirees, your stay-at-home folks, I work from home, my kid who is a homeschooler and wants to contribute, give back. I'm home for summer break.
Mhm.
These are some of the folks I'm looking for, which I've done a lot of these programs in the past when I worked for the Y. So I feel confident in running it. It's just putting the legwork in the front end, finding the right people.
Okay. Awesome, thank you. Any unfinished business?
Nope.
New business?
Okay, first up, we have the Adopt a Trail renewal. So this board did adopt last year Lakapani's Trail, the Wolf Lake Trail. And we're looking to get feedback from PRAB if you would like to continue down that road of maintaining and giving us the inspections and all the work involved in continuing your efforts at that trail. And I'll turn it over to Chair and Vice Chair if they want to kick off that discussion.
I wasn't very good at it, but I'd like to do it again
You were there.
once.
Same. I do think it'd be helpful. It was lovely that we all went, and by all, like, there were like 4 of us. Thank you, Jen. But I would say maybe we could be more proactive in like putting things on the calendar. Because, and maybe we don't all agree, we're not all going to go every
Yeah.
single time. Like
Right.
it's
I agree
a
with that.
I'm with that.
couple of us, we put 4 dates on the calendar and a few of us commit to going in those blocks or something. But I think I would like to support it again.
Sounds good to me.
I'm good.
Good idea. Get a couple dates on so we can hopefully make 50% of them would be ideal. Yeah, that works.
We could do that.
I had a schedule conflict, missed it, but I think if we could figure out how to schedule it around the active sports scheduling busy periods to get it in the downtimes, like November, December, might be the best time for us to own that duty because most people aren't committed to something else aside from basketball. But maybe that's an idea from a calendar. I'm with you on calendar and can't get too far ahead of it.
Yeah, even if we get a few for each one,
Yep.
you know,
Right.
that'll accomplish what we need.
All right.
Do it.
I'll make a motion to renew our Parks and Rec Advisory Board Adopt a Trail for Wolf Lake Trail at Lakapani Preserve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. Item 8B, the meeting schedule.
Okay, so what I have for you, let's see, one second. And I give you something very similar every year. I have an option A and an option B. And we can discuss the idea of keeping the meetings at noon. I proposed on option A, we do the same schedule as we've always done every 3rd month. So March, June, September, December. The meetings would be at noon. I will say though, this year with the design of the park at Deerfield coming on board, there could be the potential for a noon meeting having some serious input. And the question being, do we want to get public input and who can make it at noon, who's, working? So keep that in mind as you kind of go through this discussion as to do we want to keep these noon meetings or not. I know we all love the noon meetings here, but I don't want to discourage someone from being able to give public comment when we've got park designs coming around the corner. So with that, I'll turn it over and be happy to answer any questions as well as we're going through the discussion.
What was our attendance for the noon meetings this year?
I am not prepared to pull, I can probably pull it up real quick, but I don't have it
I mean,
handy.
in general, like,
I can tell you I tend to only come to the noon meetings. I think I've only seen you guys one time this year.
So this is 2.
if that's helpful.
So
Okay.
50/50.
And we had how many? 4?
Four.
We also haven't had super great attendance at the 6 o'clock meetings either, though, so being honest.
Yeah.
Tom, do we have any sense of the timing around design? Like, do we know it would be March that we would, maybe as a accommodation, we just take March off the books and leave the other noon ones later and
I
they
was
can
gonna say,
always
do
be
you scrap the
adjusted?
first quarter, right, early meeting in the event that there's some,
March is a potential to hit.
Yeah.
On when we start getting some concepts put together. Our first public meeting is going to be January 14th. It's not on the books yet. I just scheduled it. So that'll be kind of the open house.
Yep.
Hey, big pie in the sky. What would you like to see at this park? And then from there, they're going to start putting the rubber onto the road with designing and giving some concepts for us to look through. So I wouldn't be surprised if that March date, it could be February if they move quickly. I'm not sure, but I'm looking at March.
maybe we move that March meeting back to 6 o'clock and then keep the latter 3 noon meetings on the calendar.
You done?
Works for me.
Sounds reasonable to me.
So I guess someone makes a motion for option A with March 20th being 6 p.m.
Yep. I'll make a motion that the 2025 schedule is option A with the March 20th meeting being at 6.
I'll second that.
Seconded.
Second. Oh. thought you were
All those
reading.
in favor?
Aye.
You started it.
All right.
Item C, discussion on recreation program late pickup fees.
An answer already. Yes.
That's in the slideshow. And I will say there is a
1 minute.
fire drill review scheduled at 1 p.m. And that's now. So sometime in the next 10 minutes, we might hear the fire alarm go off and we will mute the mics quickly if we do hear it. But it should be very brief, like 5 seconds. Okay.
I believe you said 110 when I talked. to
About
you.
1:10.
Oh, that's helpful.
I'll try to be quick.
Like a minute.
All right. Yes, so good afternoon. Happy holidays. It's crazy to think about that summer is just around the corner and we're thinking about summer camps. So what I'll do first is just do a brief overview of our camp, so Camp Compass. Currently, we do not have a late policy for parents or guardians who come and pick up their kids. So the camp leadership, after this past summer, they brought up concerns how parents kind of show up around like after that 4:30 time. We don't really have any rules, just more of, hey, the final time to pick up your child is at 4:30. So what we did is I reached out to fellow Park and Rec friends of mine who work at other counties, other cities, who deal with summer camps. So on this slide, majority of the cities and counties, they have it where if a parent shows up late, it's $1 per minute. So Cherokee County, which is the one that is the one that we like, it's after the 50-minute hits, then it's $10, and after that it goes to $20, stuff like that. So obviously it's not the $1 per minute, but we can kind of help that with our scheduling of the staff, so it can start. So like a shift can end at, instead of like 4:30, it ends at 4:45 or at 4:50. So it kind of helps out with that. because the past 2 years we didn't have that kind of set in stone. And then the next one, which, do you care if I go to the next?
No, they'll need to kind of go.
Okay.
Are you talking about the aftercare?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do this
Okay.
discussion first, and then we'll talk aftercare after.
So yeah, so just we're looking for thoughts, comments, or any questions, and we're also looking to bring this up to City Council also soon as well.
If you're looking for suggestions, I think that 15 minutes over is too lenient.
Okay.
I could see maybe saying 10 minutes over, and then you start getting a fee. But 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. That's pretty lenient. As someone who runs carpool at a school, 15 minutes feels like a very long time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's also a little bit tough when it's like that 1 minute after. So that having a little bit of a buffer is helpful. Maybe it's 5 minutes. Once they're 5 minutes late, then you start to charge them.
Yeah.
15 minutes feels too lenient. 1 minute feels too difficult to man.
Exactly.
My number was somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. The clock starts.
Yes.
Do we do $1 per minute? Do we do every 15 minutes after that? It's another $10. That's kind of really this,
So I would agree.
from our standpoint, it's easiest to manage. If we're doing $1 per minute, I don't want to get into the argument about, I was only 7 minutes late,
Whose
not
watch is
8.
right?
Yeah. So if we have more of a broad swipe, hey, look, you
And
were
then-
in zone 1, which is $10.
Yep. And then how are you enforcing the payment? How do you ensure that that
Bill 'em?
happens?
Yeah. So
Payment, so you can come the next day.
Okay,
yeah.
sure. So the child wouldn't be welcome back until that's squared away.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're able to go in the system and able to go to a person's account. And so, example, like let's just say if you had if your child went to camp, then we were able to go to your account and then put a credit like $10 on your
Add
account.
the fee. Okay, sure.
And then the person wouldn't be able to pay to register for anything until that person
That's taken care
pays
of.
that credit.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I would agree with Morgan. I think a 5 minute and then just a flat fee.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you're 5 minutes late, it's $15. And the more you make it, when my kids were in daycare, if you were 5 minutes late, it was $25. Right? Like it was.
It's got to feel substantial.
Yep,
so
it's
they
got to
don't
feel,
do it again.
and so you make that $10 or $15 right off the bat. And then if they exceed 30 minutes, then maybe it's, 15 more.
Mhm.
It's easier to administer with the less things that you have, but yeah, as soon
Additionally,
as
the
they
$10
go over, yeah.
Looking at aftercare, if I can only pay $10 and just put my kid in aftercare till 6 p.m., I'm just going to do that then. If it's only
Yeah,
$10,
exactly.
$10
Yeah.
if I'm
And
only 10
obviously-
minutes
and
late.
obviously
Right.
that
It
is
should
an
help.
option.
It should help with some of the
Yeah.
late arrivers too, because they can choose
Sure.
when their pickup time would be. But that's, our next item.
Yeah, I'd bump that fee up.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we'll. Is there any more questions?
Do you need a motion? Do you need
Yeah.
anything there?
A motion on a recommendation for what the late policy should be. 5 minute grace period, 10 minutes every 15 minutes, $10 every 15 minutes, $1 a minute. It's
I think the $1 a minute is too hard to.
Yeah, I think it's too hard. I
calculate.
think
Go
you're
with the
setting
zone.
yourself up
Number,
to.
just keep
agree.
a Number.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the late policy. Darn, you took it away. I need to see it. To approve the late policy.
He's bringing it back up.
After 5 minutes, a $10 charge will be assessed, and that
Every-
is for 15-minute increments.
Every 15 minutes.
Every 15 minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
I appreciate it. Going off of that, we also had a couple parents reach out after summer camp this past July about doing like after camp care. So I think this would also help out well. So for example, if the parent is late, we can so they call us, we can be like, well, if you want to do like $10 fee and have your child stay till 6, so you don't have to speed and potentially get a ticket, like especially after work, because it does happen. So what we're so our plan is for this policy is you can sign up. So per day, it's only $10, and then you can do it per week, which is you have the $40 per week. So any thoughts, any comments on that one?
That seems too cheap.
Yeah, how many people are you taking to man this? At least 2, right?
Correct, yeah.
And you're going to pay them hopefully better than $10 an hour. So that seems a little low.
Yeah, so what we did is we did it based upon the fee for a Milton resident. So for a week of camp, it's $195. So it's roughly close to $5
An hour?
So instead of doing only $7 for the hour and a half, we just did it at 10.
So
I'd make it
we have
15.
a 10-to-1 ratio on
Up
staff
a
to
little
kids.
bit.
So, if there are 20 kids at $10 each staying late, you've got 2 staff staying back, plus a manager. So 3 people for $200. It still profits.
I'd do $15 and then I'd
About
make
a
it
little bit.
50 for the week.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Give them an incentive to do the week because that lets you plan, but I'd do $15.
Okay.
Because if you're only going to hit them for $10 for being late, they're just going to be late.
Most people pay their babysitters better than that.
Yes, that's exactly
So,
what I was thinking.
I'm thinking if you're paying for childcare and it's super convenient,
Right, the convenience factor.
convenience of it,
They'll pay it.
I'd leave my kid there just because I'd leave all 3 of mine there.
Yeah, I'll get my kid.
I would at least recommend 15.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion to implement the after camp care policy at $15 a day and
50.
$50 a week.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, Matthew.
God, I'm just sitting here on pins and needles.
Waiting.
It's right behind me too. Maybe we can rip through all this and have it adjourned.
Tom, 9A, Legacy Park.
Okay, so I had Scott Teacott lined up to visit us today, but he was unable to attend. So he is the project manager over all the work at Legacy and Milton City Park and Preserve, both active and passive. He's the project manager for both those projects. So I'm going to start with Milton City Park and Preserve on the passive side. So the invasive species have been removed adjacent to the creek within the various stream buffers for the phase 2 of the trail. And concrete paths have been removed and recycled, and they use that same material for like the base layer of our trail. So it's kind of recycling the materials there. The southern ponds, the ponds are drained, and the ditch has been dug to connect the 2 ponds. So there was a smaller one and a larger one. They're now connected. They were connected underground, but now there's kind of like a swale that runs between them for the hydraulic connectivity. And then there is also an outfall weir structure that's been installed on the backside that will, if it overflows, it goes back into Chicken Creek. The initial grading for the new trail has begun, and it's ongoing. There was the pump houses and the pump equipment, which was over by the larger lake. Those are all gone. The drainage infrastructure and repairs from Club Drive into the park have all been completed, and just working on it. That's grant funded too, so all paperwork's been filed, and we're still moving along with that project. So that's what I have for that one. I'm not out there as much to actually see the day-to-day and how it's going. But last time I was out there, they're making big progress. Weren't you with me, Jen? The lakes were drained, and that weir structure was almost done when we were there, and it's substantial. It was a lot of work going on out there. So
And the phase 1 improvements.
yes.
All those, not concrete, the matting.
Yes. A lot of the drainage issues in phase 1 have been mitigated. A lot of the ditches were regraded to allow for basically better flow. And then there was it's like a concrete material called Fleximat, and it helps with the erosion control, essentially. Over time, you can see it now, but over time, the natural growth will go over it and you won't really see it. But it'll help hold the ground together so that, we don't get back into troublesome situations with some of the hydrology and where the stormwater had been running. Any questions on the passive and the trail work there before we move on? Okay, so on the active piece, we did retain an engineering consultant to develop those conceptual costs and engineering plans. They're only doing conceptual first, and that scope of the work will include the demo and real installation of the parking lot. Same with the tennis courts and adding the 2 tennis courts. Playground out back with some ADA components in it, and lighting for tennis parking lot and the tennis viewing facility, which will also be part of the project. I feel like I kind of went and attacked that in a roundabout way. Sorry. So
Remind me where the playground is?
out back.
Like where out back?
Hmm?
Where out back?
We will find out when they conclude their engineering studies.
Okay.
We have not given them any suggestions or where it should go. We're going to get their recommendations on where it fits best.
Yeah, there was some space behind the tennis courts, right? That we.
The original master plan had a parking or a playground behind the building on the backside. So we're supposed to get a couple of draft layouts from the engineers and consultants, perhaps as early as this month, next month timeframe. And then we'll be able to kind of get some preliminary cost estimates on what that looks like. Because right now we're only asking them to do a 30% design, which is more or less conceptual, not construction drawings and all that. That's when you get to 100%.
Will there be a feedback time from the residents back there as
bet.
well as
You bet.
the swim team and
Everyone.
Okay.
Yep. Stakeholders, neighbors,
All right.
this board, we'll have it covered from every angle
cool, thanks.
once we get them in. Let me make sure he gave me some notes. I want to make sure I hit it all. Yes, I did. Any questions on the active piece?
No.
Maybe they know we're in here and they decided not to pull it.
What's your timeline on that, Tom?
Of what?
The active piece? of
We're supposed to
getting
get
those
our,
back?
6 months. So we're supposed to get our initial drafts in the next month,
Okay.
as early as the end of this month. That's what Scott told me. All right, Legacy Park, parking lot. We're looking at 2 different scopes here for Legacy right now. First, we're looking at a short-term plan to shore up the lot and make it easier to manage, to navigate. Let's put it that way. So we're looking at, for that scope, removing the asphalt temporary driveway and then regrading the entire parking lot as it is gravel right now. Improving the existing drainage that's there. And marking parking lots with, hopefully, we looked up a product that it was actually recommended. It's like a PVC, it's a stripe that you nail in the ground essentially. So we'll have striped parking lots or a striped parking lot with actual parking stalls as a short-term fix. We're getting pricing right now back from Triscapes, our maintenance team, to get this done. They've done it before at another park and they said it was great. And we're looking to, as we do that, we're also redesigning the existing footprint to maximize spots. So we're expecting to get a handful of extra spots from the redesign. For example, when you pull into the park, right on the right side, the driveway is really wide right when you pull in. So we're looking at putting parallel parking spots along the right side to add 3, 4, 5 more spots there. Maybe some diagonal parking, some areas that's going to be marked and striped accordingly. So it's not as much a free-for-all as it has been, which is part of the problem that's been occurring out there is when, we paint the stripes and they're gone in a week, 2 weeks. And then people are parking too close to each other or too far apart from each other and making it so that there's not enough spaces available. So that's the short-term plan. Long-term, it's the same consultant that's working on MCPP that on the active side. They're also doing the legacy at the same time. So we should be getting plans in for the legacy long-term in the next month as well. The conceptual ideas that then we can kind of look at, pick apart, see what works, see what doesn't. And that plan would include, that's a full-on redesign where we're, making the parking lot larger and truly maximizing the parking lot. But with the timeline and the way things are kind of shaping up, we thought it'd be good to go ahead and hit a short-term solution so that by the time we really get to this parking lot fully being completed, we haven't gone another year of dealing with what we're dealing with now. Questions?
Okay, the big plan for that involves taking out all the trees.
Oh, my soul just left my body.
Nap's over.
Oh, my God.
We're awake. So the big plan, the big scope of that project is all those trees along that right fence line will come out, correct? And that'll widen a lot.
I can't say all of them, but
Okay.
yes, that we
Okay.
are looking at that
Okay.
to create parking along that side. That's more efficient.
And I know the same engineer is working on both projects, but for this one, the big project, do we have any timeline as to when that might get underway? Or not
I'm
yet?
not comfortable answering the question.
Okay.
Probably, I mean, their completion of their piece of it is probably truly 6 months out.
Okay.
Once we get the 30% design done, then we have to go in and contract out for the 100%.
Got it. Thank you.
So I will email the board an update on that before the end of the year. I'll try to get something today and get it out.
Awesome. That's great.
So you can have something.
Deerfield?
Not a whole lot to report on the active park. We did have a stakeholder meeting with our program providers. Was it 2 weeks ago? And it was a really informative meeting. All of our programs kind of provided feedback to the consultants for what they were looking for in their specific realm. So what did baseball want to see in the baseball components? What did the football program want to see on the rectangular fields? And same for lacrosse. So we got a pretty steady feedback from all the programs that they want maximum flexibility. So, great example, Tim Godby was like, well, let's make sure we make the rectangular fields wide enough so that we can put small-sided games going the other way in a comfortable format so that we can get as many kids on the fields as possible on Saturdays and Sundays. And baseball was looking kind of the same thing. They were looking at some practice concepts that you might be able to throw 2 or 3 teams onto one slightly larger field, but it might have some diamonds on corners and things like that to where there'd be some more efficiency in getting kids out there on weeknights for practice, because baseball is usually the issue is more practice space than game time space. And there was some feedback about having some dedicated bullpens for baseball, rather than just having a mound in left field, essentially. But that pretty much covered most of the feedback from the programs. Did I miss anything? I know most of us were there. And then the upcoming meeting on the 14th for public input. And then from there, I don't know if they're going to be able to provide feedback quickly enough to get to our January meeting a couple days later. But if they can wrangle it up and put it together, I will ask them to come in.
Great.
Because the sooner we can get it in front of you, the sooner we can keep that project moving along.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we've got right now for the Deerfield Active Park.
There were a lot of questions about crowning as it pertained to football.
The field?
The field? Yeah.
Whether or not it's needed. Just kept being a topic.
Yeah, that was more of a topic, it seemed, being pushed by the consultant more than the programs.
Yeah.
I mean, our football fields aren't really crowned. I mean,
No,
they're
and I
they're
don't know
they're shaped
that-
to drain.
Yeah.
You know, they might have a crown that's quarter of a percent higher. You can't even tell. But
Is that even a thing with the turf field? I feel like that's more of a natural grass
it's more of a natural grass thing for sure.
situation. Yeah.
The turf problem.
They don't need to be crowned.
No.
Let's just put that
No.
out there. I don't think any of our football fields need to be crowned.
Emily?
Well, I haven't really done much this fall, so kidding. So we've had a really busy fall. It started with Touch Truck, which was a phenomenal success as always. Carvin and Crab Apple, which again, bigger and better than ever. Veterans Breakfast, Volunteer Appreciation Dinner, and then of course our holiday events, Christmas and Crab Apple and Pancakes with Santa, which if you attended, both had a little bit of a different feel this year. I think in a great way. We made some very small tweaks to both events and they've been wildly successful. We have Tea Party with Mrs. Claus coming up on Monday to finish off our holiday season. So from September, we've had 7 major events, which has been a lot, but it's been a great season and kids are very happy. So looking forward, we have our State of the City, which is on January 29th. And some updates. Crab Apple Fest will now fall with community outreach. So Crab Apple Fest is now in Parks and Rec, which is big and exciting. So that'll be 8 big events in the fall. On the community outreach side, we just finished up our 8th year of Operation Milton Christmas, which is where we work with the social workers and we adopt some families and send it out to city staff and we fulfill the kids' wish lists. So we just donated those gifts yesterday. We typically give them to the social workers directly and they'll go and deliver those gifts. But yesterday, one of the families themselves came to pick up their gifts in person and it was a wonderful and very special moment. We also started our community tree, as you can see. So we worked with some local elementary schools and they designed all of the ornaments on the tree. And then the last thing is our sponsorship packet is live for our 2025 events. We'll do Crab Apple Fest sponsors a little bit differently just because it's a larger event. So that won't fall with that sponsorship packet, but that's all that's going on in my world.
And the menorah lighting is.
Oh my gosh, how did I forget the menorah lighting? It's on the
I just saw
26th.
the digital board coming to the meeting, so.
Yep, that will be at Broadwell Pavilion the day after Christmas, which is the day after the first night of Hanukkah. So we're on the front end of it. So we're working with Chabad of North Fulton again to do that.
Great job with pancakes. I was there. I witnessed it. It was awesome.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Any other questions for her? I want to jump back to the legacy parking lot quickly.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just thought of something. I want to be clear that, you know, as we go through this design process, we're going to start getting cost estimates. So when I come to you with a timeline, it's going to be based upon funding available to be able to actually build the parking lot. If it comes in way higher than expected, there perhaps could be a slight delay. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
Understood.
Mm-hmm.
Other business?
None by me.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So move.